I keep hearing the same comment over and over again about the living wage. When people are complaining about the living wage, this is my response. You want to know a country that doesn't pay living wage? I'll give you a country. China. You know a country that doesn't give living wage? India. You know a real country that doesn't pay living wage? Vietnam.
Was she talking about the same Vietnam that is a communist-ruled country and has a very low cost of living compared to America? Was she talking about the same Vietnam that has cheap college tuition at public universities? Was she talking about the same Vietnam that has welfare and universal health care? The same shit that conservatives are against. All of that is the reason why Vietnam has a lower poverty rate than the United States and less income inequality than the United States. Bad example. Rent is much lower in China than it is in the United States. College tuition is a fuck of a lot lower in China than it is in the United States. Bad example. India does have a cost of living that is way too high for their low-skilled worker wages. Consequently, India is a shithole where most of the people there are poor. So that doesn't exactly prove her point.
You were talking about living wages. America does pay living wages, but
that's not true. The United States does not pay a living wage. America is rife with employment discrimination and corporate greed. America's government spends billions of dollars a year on corporate welfare, yet does not pay a livable minimum wage in any state. You don't have to be a liberal to acknowledge those facts.
The problem is you are living beyond the means of your wages. Example, when people are telling me that America doesn't pay living wages, I have to ask them, what are you doing to make your wages stretch? You have three options if you feel like your wages are not enough for your lifestyle. Option number one, you can put in extra hours and make sure you get that promotion. Make sure you get to the manager status in the company so you can start dominating and you're going to get paid better.
First off, promotions are not always merit-based. Also, if every person becomes a manager or a business owner, there would be virtually no subordinates, and companies like Walmart, Home Depot, Target, and AutoZone would not have enough workers to meet their business demands. And we all know that most Americans are too dumb and lazy to manufacture their own products and grow their own food. So they use the retail industry to purchase shit that other people produced. I think the fact that the aforementioned companies are worth billions of dollars proves that low-skilled workers are in fact valuable to the economy. So their paychecks should reflect that. A large-scale company cannot exist without subordinates. So in America, the income of CEOs exceeds their contribution to their companies. Ergo, shitty system.
Option number two, you can also get a side hustle. Whatever it is, as long as it's legal, work, do something on the side. Have some other options open. Get a part-time, get a seasonal, or anything that's on the side that you can do, as long as it's legal.
Side hustle? Why should a person who is at a diploma level have to work multiple jobs in order to survive, when most people in America who are at a diploma level make enough money to survive off of one job? So you'd be asking that person to do more work than other people who are at their same education level. Based on the definition of fairness, that is not fair. And if economic unfairness is acceptable, then why not legalize financially motivated crimes? If you are going to be okay with unfairness when it comes to economics, then don't cherry pick when it comes to accepting unfairness and immorality. Also, at one point, I did have a second job. It still wasn't enough. At a minimum wage level, a full-time job and a part-time job is not enough to live alone. A minimum wage worker would need 2 full-time jobs to afford the average fair market rent. The average minimum wage worker would need 2 full-time jobs just to afford the average modest apartment. And the modest apartments that they would have been able to afford have already been taken by other people who were equally as desperate. Then you people will be saying that the poor should work 2 full-time jobs. Then when the cost of living continues to skyrocket and continues to outpace the minimum wage, you'll be telling us to get 2 full-time jobs and a side hustle. Then you'll be telling us to get 3 full-time jobs. Get the fuck outta here with that. No, my apartment will be paid for by the tax dollars of the employers who turned me down for jobs that I was qualified for. And conservatives can go ahead and stay in their feelings about that.
Option number 3, adjust your lifestyle. If you are living beyond your wages, that's your problem. That's not the company's problem, because when you take on a position at a company, you agree to the payment that they're going to be paying you. No one forced you to work for a company that you feel is not paying you enough. You signed that paperwork. You took on that job. You agreed to the payment. It's not the company's fault that you agreed to it and then later on complain that it's not enough.
Obviously, the need for food, water, and hygiene products is what forces people to work minimum wage jobs. Newsflash, those 3 things are not free. And the condescending fuckwit that I'm responding to knows that. But the fact still remains that minimum wage jobs do not pay people enough to rent a fair market apartment or buy a house. As if that isn't bad enough, minimum wage jobs do not pay enough to buy a college or trade school education. Minimum wage jobs do not pay enough to buy or finance a reliable car. Those issues are not the company's problem. But those issues are the company's fault. If they are too greedy and ruthless to pay all of their full-time workers a livable salary, that is in fact their fault. Nobody else's.
If you have low skills, you get low payment. I'm sorry, that's just the way it is.
For the most part, that's incorrect. The average worker who has no more than a diploma makes more than $35,000 a year, which is a salary that is more than $20,000 higher than the federal minimum wage salary and more than $12,000 higher than the minimum wage salary in my state. Do you know why low skills do not always mean low salary? Because low skills do not always mean low effort. Because low skills do not always mean low relevance. And there are high-skill jobs that don't have a significant level of societal importance. There are some entry-level service jobs that are more important than some jobs that require a college degree to qualify for. So some low-skill jobs pay a living wage and some don't. Even some billion-dollar companies that can afford to pay their workers a living wage refuse to do so. But the truth of the matter is that all full-time jobs should pay enough for you to survive off of and should pay enough for you to complete a community college. If you don't pay your workers a livable salary, then they should unify and do labor strikes.
Want to know why? Because low-skilled jobs are very common. They're all over the place. If you leave one company, easily you can get the same job in another company. That's why they don't pay you that much. Sorry to break it to you.
No, these companies pay their workers crumbs because they are cheap and greedy. That's also the reason why they hire illegal immigrants as much as they do. Companies don't have to pay illegal immigrants as much money.
So when you want to talk about your wages being low, why don't you take into consideration your lifestyle? Maybe you don't need the latest iPhone. Maybe you don't need a Netflix subscription. You can stream movies on YouTube. There's so many other streaming ways to stream movies and such without paying a subscription to Netflix. These little things that you can knock off of your monthly bills, these little things you can knock off and save your money.
Yeah, there you go. Don't buy decent quality electronics while you live in a computerized society that is reliant on technology. If only you hadn't bought that $400 cell phone, you would be able to afford to pay $1,700 a month worth of living expenses. Never mind the fact that you make significantly less than $1,700 a month. If only you hadn't bought those $100 sneakers, you would be able to afford to pay $33,000 for a trade school education. It's not like there's a $32,900 price difference between the two things. People who make those kinds of arguments are retarded and don't deserve any job, let alone good jobs. Simply put, if a person's means are low in an environment where the cost of living is high, then everything is above that person's means.
My family came here with nothing. My family came here with no American money. My father worked. He had a wife and kids to take care of. And he worked. And we saved money. We didn't have any luxuries in the beginning. There was a lot of times we didn't even eat meat with our dinner because we had to save money. Sometimes we can only eat rice and beans.
African, Arab, and Asian conservatives love using that tired-ass argument that their families came to America with nothing. But that's usually bullshit. Their families were established before they came to America, which is how they could afford the high cost of coming to America. They moved to America so that their lives could be even easier than they already were. Her father likely started working a good-paying job, like most Arab immigrants do. Not a minimum wage job that would not have enabled him to support himself, let alone support a family.
The funny thing is, people from other countries know this, but Americans expect the American dream to be handed to them on a silver platter as they're laying there watching TV. It doesn't happen that way. You are getting paid a living wage. You are well taken care of as an employee in America. The problem is, you're living beyond your means. If you want more luxury, you have to do the work. I yield my time.
Look, people like her are not going to shame me out of getting social services benefits. Especially, after I've been turned down for hundreds of good-paying jobs that I qualify for. Especially, when I've seen so many thugs, hood rats and potheads make more money than me. The conservatives can drop dead with their bootstrap rhetoric. Peaceful citizens who are willing to work full-time, stay off of drugs and refrain from being alcoholics, don't deserve to be basement dwellers or face homelessness. Any arguments to the contrary are stupid, and such toxic talking points should be censored. Stop demanding that people adjust to corporate greed. Stop demanding that poor people adjust to the unethical fuckery of shiesty middle-class people and rich people. Like anyone else, I'm owed fair treatment in life. But if conservatives say that I'm not owed anything, then by that logic, I don't owe your piece of shit politicians my vote. And I sure as shit don't owe you an explanation for any government assistance that I get. Bottom line.